so pushing along absolutely fantastic with this one. We'll find somewhere to grab this, and there we go. How grubby and grimy is that looking? This is obviously, you know, personal taste to absolutely everything. And looking at the reference photos, okay, some of them, although this one, shall we say, isn't this dirty, but other ones are far, far worse than this one, okay? So really happy. The big thing you notice, this area down here seems to be an absolute oil trap and grime trap. So we've given it a little bit more in there, but generally very happy how that's all turned out and how it's come together now and all the rest of it. So as I said, it's one of those things, personal choice, you go along as far or as less as you like. Now, one thing we have done is the rotors. So we want to grind these up. Now these are always very tricky to do because it's a moving thing. It's traveling so quick round there. Grime doesn't tend to stick to it. But obviously, by its nature, you are going to get oil and things in these areas. And this, to be honest, I had a little bit of a dry brush just to sort of bring it back a bit. Okay, right the way over it. All the grease and that is going to get flicked off, and you assume it's going to go flying down the blade, okay, and all the rest of it. And as it's flying through dirt, grime and everything, it's going to pick up a certain amount of wear and tear on these. All right, so what we've done is we've just given this a simple oil, using obviously the grease and the oils and all the rest of it down onto this, and it's sat down and it's completely dried on. So then what I do, I come along, and we've got here just some enamel thinners. Put a little bit of thinners on the brush, rub it all off so you get it all off completely. All right, then just on here, don't completely get rid of it. And then what I tend to do is we just go along and we reactivate all of this just to break it up. So it's all in those panel lines still. Okay, just like that. And then what we do, we're just going to go a direction of airflow just to give it some pull along, just like so. Okay. And then that way you let it dry, so when it dries it comes and it looks like this. Okay, so it's got that sort of grease and dirt and everything looking all over it, and obviously you've got all your panel lines filled from the wash itself, which is obviously what we're trying to achieve on this one. And that is really it. You can go around as much or as little as you like. And as I say, when you're looking down on here, I'm trying to do this in certain areas, so obviously this back edge here and back gets a lot of it, so we've left a lot of grime and everything down in this particular section just to make it look, you know, as heavy and as weathered and as grimed in as possible. And to be honest, again, this isn't a mass job. Don't think this is like hours and hours of work. This is literally was 10 minutes just to whip round and smudge it all around. What you're trying to do though is get that balance, especially like we've done on the top here, of trying to make it sort of fade into each other so you don't get like here, that's too much. You see we've got that little mark. The easiest way to get rid of that is, as we said, with like a blending effect, just like that. Okay, so you pop in with a brush with a little bit of thinners on there and just smudge it around slightly, and that gets rid of it. Again, we've got these little guys just down on the bottom here, which I'm just noticing. So again, we're just popping in, and you're not trying to completely destroy it all, but you're just trying to blend that all around a little bit. Okay, and this is the other nice thing with the thinners. Got a little bit just at the front here. You know, you've got a bit of thinners on your thing. You can just lightly just brush these around and maneuver and keep doing it. So don't think, you know, once it's in, that's it, you know, you're stuck with it and all the rest of it. You can then just come along a little bit just down in here. Actually, I've got a little fingerprint in there, but we just lose that guy. Okay, you can just maneuver things around as you go on just to make them all come alive. We're just going to dab just down in here and drag a little bit more of this down. Okay, and that's what it's all about. So oils are a little bit like when you're using obviously the clay wash. The clay wash, you rehydrate it, you can move it, you can do the same with oils. The trouble with the oils is you're not going to get it all off. It's always going to get caught in there and all the rest of it. So I don't think oils work particularly well as a pin wash, because every now and again you'll get something that sticks, something that won't come out and all the rest of it. That's why I like to use the clay wash. And then for generally, you can see the grime that we've caused with the wash works with the actual oils as well. So a lot of this griminess in here to start off with is in fact the oils down on here. And as I see these things, I can pick them out. There's a little one just to go. Okay, and the oils and the clay work together to give you this nice heavy duty weathered griminess to it all, okay, as we go right the way through. All right, so that's that one done. And then dry brushing literally is just a case of, when I talk about dry brushing, it isn't putting the color on, it's actually wiping it away. So this has got the thinners on this, and then all we do is just literally run it very lightly over everywhere, like there. We've lightened up that entire top section again. Okay, and down, and you take it off, and then just come over to a spare piece of, you know, whatever. If you've got some thinners on, it's handy. You can rub it away. There's the thinners, and you'll take the dirt off, leaving you clean. Pick up a little bit, brush it on there, and you can actually go around and take all that grime and dirt and everything off of your actual model as you go around. Very straightforward, very easy, but it's very easy to get carried away with it. I always say when you're doing any type of weathering, that bit where you think, overdone it, is the bit where you stop, because you probably haven't. It's just your brain's doing that psychological thing of like, stop, you've overdone it, all right? But there we go, that's our one done so far. Very happy how this is. There's a couple other little techniques we're going to do on this one. So we're going to come in with a little bit of pigment. I don't know about doing chipping effects, I must admit. I'm just looking at references. Corrosion control on these seems to be pretty good. As in, you've got chipping from other colours, but there's no metal showing through at all on this, as you might expect. All right, so I'm probably not going to worry about that at all. And we'll just come up with something else. But what I'm going to do is let those oils dry. The other drawback with oils is drying time. As we know, this is going to take days, weeks possibly to go off, all right? But what it does enable us, when you come along with pigments in a moment, the pigments will stick to this oils, and obviously with the enamels on there and things like that, and then obviously that will give you pretty much a very nice surface to work with, because it will stick slightly to it. You can smudge, blend, move around, and again, you come along with something like an enamel thinners, and you can wipe away any pigment that's too much on there. But there we go. That's so far so good on the Heilex. Okay, so we are really pushing on another day. As you can see, we've got the weathering going down in there. Now, you know, when you're doing weathering, it is really, really easy to go completely over the top. Let's face it, I'm as guilty as the next person. So what I'm trying to do is you sort of try and keep it as subtle as you can. And that bit where you're thinking you're going over the top, but it needs a bit more, just then go into the details of it. Don't try and do big swathing, weathering things and all the rest of it. Otherwise, what can happen is you can end up, you know, really going over the top. So what we've done on this side, we've slightly made a few changes. Which camera is going to pick this up best? Okay, so what we've actually got here is some more of this sort of streaking coming down. Now, one little way of doing this is something I learned with armour not so long ago, really, and that is using pigments as a wet to give you that sort of drawn down look to it. So the way we've been doing it is, we come over to this side, is we take our pigment. So in this case, we're just using enamel. So I've got some pigment fixer, but any enamel will do. Okay, brush it all off completely. Okay. All right, so then get most of it off of your brush itself. All right, then all we do is literally just going to come along, going to do some streaky bits coming downwards. Okay, then we take some pigment. So for this one, we've just got the dark earth flory pigment. Okay, so then we just pick up a little bit on the brush, just a little bit. Okay, and then, to be honest, tap most of it all off. Okay, and then all we're going to do is literally just going to come in and we're going to touch some areas. Pick up a little bit with the moisture on the brush, might help. Okay, and then all we're going to do is just going to put in some little bits and pieces. Okay, so we just pop in some of those in just like that. Perhaps we'll just have one or two bits just along here. All right, so once you've got those knocked in, then we come back with this wet brush. Okay, we're just going to knock a bit of that moisture off. And then what will happen is it's going to get caught in that thing and it's going to then start to drag, and then you can just do little pull and you can drag it down, giving you that streakiness. Okay, and again, it's supposed to be subtle. Don't do this so you can see it. All right, and there we go. That's how we got it done. If we just drop this top camera down just a little bit so you can see a little bit closer. Hopefully you can see now we've got this sort of stragging down, not so much of a problem. So we're just going to do just a couple down here. So we put it in first. Okay, pick up a little bit of pigment. Okay, and then all we're going to do is just going to put some little streaks coming down in this, perhaps just a little bit under here. Now I've got a problem here, we'll talk about this in a minute. I've managed to push the little window in. Okay, but you'll need the pigment or your enamel thinners to actually make this work, because without it the pigment won't stick and it just runs off. Okay, so we're just going to pull a little bit just down in that area. Okay, then we come in with the brush and then you just basically drag it, okay, to give you that sort of streaked look, but you want to take it off so it's almost all gone. Okay, and then just going to go around. So you end up with these little tiny marks, and as this dries, obviously it will dry lighter and it will give you these little marks. So we're just going to do just a couple up here. So pop up there to pick up a little bit of pigment. And don't go in too much, it's easier to go less. Okay, so we're just going to pop a few of these little guys in here, there and everywhere. Alright, then we're back in with the fix. Probably this one might leave a little bit more on there, but think about how it's going to fall. Alright, so we're going to leave a little bit just up there just to give us that effect, and then we're just going to drag it down. Alright, and what you're going to do is really just build this up really slowly, just taking your time going through. So some areas perhaps you want to do heavier, perhaps you imagine it's got oil leaks, things like that out of there and all the rest of it. So the last one we're going to do is just going to do a little bit on this tail. They tend to get quite a bit on this tail, so we put a bit up here. Okay, coming down and off. As I say, it doesn't look very nice, and then obviously you hit it with the this on here. Okay, we're just going to grab some different areas and just sort of blend around. A little bit heavy down there. Perhaps one a little bit more. Might need just a little bit more pigment. Fix that. So I was picking some up from the bottle. Knock off the majority of it down here. Okay, let's redo this area. And again, don't forget you can redo, reshuffle. Okay. Let that sit. I'm just going to put just a little tiny bits around. Okay, and you can then just add them liberally as you like. So what I'm doing, knocking off the excess just down here on the thing. Okay, and then just going to come in and we're just going to take it down, put some along this bottom edge. Okay, refine the squirt of it as it comes down. Okay. Just adding to depth and texture right the way over this. Now as you can see down here, as this is drying off now, we've got the lines coming down, little bits all on there, exactly how we want. Okay, so that's using it as in a wet, which is pretty straightforward. And remember, if you don't like it, kills your fingers doing that, you can just rub it off and start again. So you could use that any way you want on your entire model, and it's just another layer of weathering onto this one, and a technique you could use basically anywhere. All right. Now the other one, of course, you can do is actually using the pigments dry. So if we just get the pigment fixer off of here. Okay, so we'll just get that all off. Clean the brush out of my trousers. Get it nice and dry. Okay, fix the end of it back up. Now using pigments dry is a completely different ball game, because this is going to be actually just like a smudging effect, if you like. Very, very delicate. This stuff on here, to be honest, this bit we've done down here is no problem at all. You could just literally, you know, handle it after it. As long as it's completely dry, it's going to be fine. Okay, this bit we're going to do now is completely different ball game, okay, because this is literally using as a powder to give you sort of dusty effect. Now there isn't much on here I want to do, it's maybe just a little bit. So all we're going to do is probably just pop in just a little bit around here, just to grime up just a little bit. So we're putting the areas on, and we're just trying to work it in just a little bit. And as you can see, it gets caught on the texture. Okay, so then you can blend with your finger just to rub in, just to cause texture. So if you get an area you think, a little bit clean in there, I just want to do, okay, you can just do it like that. Obviously you can use Q-tips or anything else exactly how you want. But this is, to be honest, not the type of effect we need too much over this. It's just little things down the back here. The other thing as well you can do with it, if you take a little bit on a brush, whilst this has still got a shine to it and it's still a little bit damp, you can pop some more on and it will stick just that little bit more, like here. And you'll get more of a, instead of it being streaky where it's wet, like there it is a little bit wet, here it's now looking a little bit more dustyified and all the rest of it. So actually what you can do is you can come in half and half. So if I just show you here, if we was to do this tail for instance, you know, you could come in and say, all right, we're just going to put this in. It's a pretty wasteful way of doing this, but you know, just going to give you a little bit of Okay, and you can see what we've done in there with that tail. Hopefully we get some light shine off it like it. But if you used to come in now with your pigment fixer, you can streak it and just make it a little bit more interesting because we're doing aircraft. Okay, so we're just going to come in and hopefully you can see on this tail how this back end now has changed colour compared to the inside. This has gone really weathered. So what we're going to do, we're just going to rinse and repeat. Just going to put some over here. Okay, and we're just going to come in with the pigment. Okay, just going to add a little bit of dirt and grime coming over it, and then we're going to use this as our sort of blendy brush to come over. And right on cue, we've got helicopters overhead. Okay, so we're just going to pop, taking some of the stuff that's here. It's now loaded onto the brush, so we can now use it on this tail just to accentuate, aggravate and maneuver. So we just take a little bit of pigment just on here, and again, far too strong back there. Alright, so as we did before, taking a little bit of your pigment fixer down there, and we use this to move it around. Okay, so we're just going to take a bit from there, and I want to put it into here anyway. You know what I mean? You can take it, maneuver it, push it around to give you any type of effect perhaps you're after. And this is just by moving pigment around now instead of using an oil. So you can use your pigments to do the same as we were doing on other things. All right, so by using enamel washes and stuff like that, it is all roughly the same thing. Okay, so what we're going to do is really go over the top here, put lots in here. We're going to pick out a little bit of this over the top just to swish it all in. And the great thing with the pigments is they will give you texture as well as everything else. Okay, so but remember, just keep everything even and smooth right the way as you go over everything. Okay, so just do this side again just to show. So we're just going to do this one dry for the minute. So let's just imagine you just want to put in a little bit of dirt, perhaps on this tail, around these areas. Okay, so we can dirty it up that way, but we want to give it that streaky look. So we just come in right the way over the tail, starting to pick it up, you can see it, and then we're going to go in the vertical because we want it to look like it's got build up, and then in here we want to give one of these all important dirty, swishy, oily looks. Okay, so that goes over just like that, and then we're just going to drag it to make it look like it's run down. Okay, then we're just going to pop around some others just to drag the pigment off of this edge and pull it. Okay, and it is literally as simple as that. You know, you're just trying to recreate what you can see with your eye, and sometimes it's very difficult, and then you have a sort of light bulb moment. You think, yeah, that's all right, we can just do this just on here. Pick up a bit of thinners, just going to streak it down. Okay, a bit too much on there. So what I do, rubbing it on me combats. Okay, we can pull down and we can take it away. Okay, as much and as little as you like. So you can take it from here, too strong, come up here. See what I mean? And you can just poke it down and we can drag it. Okay, over any area we want, just to give us that streaky look. So if you find you've got something too strong, you can just take it down again, pick up a bit of thinners. Okay, pick up off the bottom, take it off the brush, brush down, just to swipe away. Bit coming backwards, bit through there, and anywhere else. So that way you can dirty it all up exactly how you want to go. All right. So it's literally as simple as that. It's one of those things, very easy to go over the top again. So if you do find, I'm not really working here, knock it back. Also, let it dry, then have a look, because you might notice down here, we've got a situation going on now where this is fading back very subtly and giving us some very nice sort of weathering, okay, without any problems, okay, whereas before it's looking a little bit streaky. This tail wasn't looking particularly nice. When we flip this guy over here, you can see what's going on down here. This particular panel's not looking very good. Give it time, let it dry back, and you should find it's absolutely, you know, no problem at all. But again, if you're feeling it's getting a little bit out of control, a little bit out of hand, take it back. The other thing you might notice here, you can see on the back here, this is drying to a very matte finish. Again, that's the pigment coming through. The oils take obviously a little bit of time. Being enamel, it's a type of oil, it takes a while to go off, okay? Whereas obviously with the pigment in there, it dries it out a lot faster, gives it a dry texture, gives it the dry look and everything else like that. And you might be able to see up here, this one's really drying off very, very quickly, okay? So no problem with that at all. So there we go. I'm going to pop around there, do the rest of it. Then we can unmask it. We can get the little aerials and all the right in there and all the bits and pieces like that. The little things, we've got to do the lights as well, a couple of touch-ins, things like that, and then be ready for the final reveal. Okay, so we are looking very, very good. Now I have to be careful where we handle this because I've done loads of little jobs and I'll talk you all through them. Okay, starting off with, finished off the weathering. Now I can really think of something to do with this area, this particular square bit here. And it was a case of, right, what we're going to do with it. I wanted to give it something, a story. You know, with most of my models, I like to give them a tale about it. So we've gone with, this one's had a leak, and a big leak at that, and it's all run down the sides. Some of it's been cleaned up, and it's still got bits coming out of it all over it. So that is my thing to it. A little bit of it pooling up down the bottom here, and everything else like that. So we've got it coming out down here, this sort of seam along the bottom here, and to be honest, this bit down here, which I've sort of recreated, looks like they all have that. It seems to be something where oil and grease and all various bits collect on these particular aircraft. Okay, so as I say, being a bit careful where we handle this, that is the side done there. Okay, so it's a little bit more heavily weathered than this side because I didn't want it to look like it was both of them going. So they're both weathered in, but obviously the other side looks like it's got the leak. Okay, and the various things like that. We also gone along and added a little bit more up onto these two panels to sort of put them more in design and all the rest of it. As you can see, we have unmasked. Okay, so we've put the windscreen wipers on, which to be honest is just done a second ago. Tiny bit of PVA glue, and we put on there. You might see up on the wiper blades themselves, I'll use them to point with. Okay, these guys up here, okay, you might see a little bit of white. What it is, that's thinned PVA glue, just literally down here, tiny bit of water, PVA, and then run it down the wiper blade. What this does is give it a lot more bite and grip, and it enables it to sit there straight away, okay? Without it, it'd be one of those things, I think if you knock this, it's gonna ping off and you've lost those particular points. We've also put the foot pegs in. Now the instructions, well, actually I don't know about the instructions, I haven't looked at the instructions for a while, note to self. Okay, but on the artist picture, it shows these pointing backwards, okay? In fact, they point forwards, okay? So you have to check that against your references right the way through. The little red flashy light on there, and we've done the one on the top as well, we've put that in. We've also done these communications aerials, things like that. Those have had a paint job. And we've done these two at the top in grey, okay? This guy here, the instructions call out for it to be sort of the top half of it in a light grey, okay? Again, all my references show you it's been painted, okay? Now the other thing as well, down on here, you might see this little blade down on the back, okay? That little fin, catch it in the light, come on camera, there we go. Okay, this is the guy up here. Now it doesn't show it on the instructions, you don't get it in the kit, but all of the Ukraine ones I've looked at have this blade type situation on the back there pointing the other direction, okay? So again, we've taken care and we've put that one in. All right, so as you can see, we've opened up the doors. We've got this little black area down here, which I've recreated. To be honest, I just put a little bit of black wash. I'm gonna have the doors open on this one. So what we've done is, we've also weathered up quite extensively the doors, okay? So we give them, obviously they're going to need it, don't forget it. That's what we're saying about keeping everything together, because obviously when I put these first on, they were blue and nothing else was. So down in here, we'll just unmask our second door, okay? And then hopefully, now don't panic when you get that, literally just give it a rub. All that is the wash has got underneath, or you can use cotton bud. Okay, that is just the clay of the wash got underneath it. Okay, so we can give it a bit of a white brown, just like so. Okay, and there is our beautifully done door, and it's done on the inside. All right, so what you can actually do at your leisure really is come along now and seat these on. Now these little runners on the bottom, it's actually a sliding door, so it depends on really where you want it. If you look at all the pictures of these guys, they run with the door open quite a bit, but again, it's personal choice. I'm probably going to have mine in the open position just so you can see in it, just like that, and we'll do the same on the other side as well. Okay, now just out of view, or hopefully you might see these guys here. Now these are the blades that for the rotor system. They're weathered in, they're beautiful. I can't touch them at the moment, to be honest, or dare I? Shall we try? Oh God, this is where it's probably this one would be the better one of the two. Obviously you've got to get that right sync. Okay, now dead simple, they push in, but they push in and then I've basically put them on to test it and they started to sink. Okay, so we have glued them in there, but now the trouble is the glue has softened the plastic is now giving and it's going down, so hence I've made myself a little jig literally on a shoestring budget of paint pots and a cup to try and get it together. So they are drying. Now it's going to take a while to go off because I use liquid cement. Probably would have been better off with the super glue in there, to be honest, something with a bit more bite and grip, because they're going to take a while to dry. But generally we are now finished off everywhere on this. I've got a couple more little grab handles just to go in the doorways and the various things. So as you can see, he's looking a little bit worse for wear, but let's face it, it's your model, you do it how you want. Remember, it's artistic license, it's a bit of an artist, okay, and all the rest of it. So that is why we've done this one. I absolutely love it. Again, I've said this on the live show, I've said it on the frequently asked questions show and all the rest of it. It's one of these helicopters I have completely overlooked, and I forget how much I enjoy doing helicopters. When you're doing helicopters, you can do things to them you can't do to aircraft. Aircraft don't get as dirty as helicopters do. Helicopters tend to pick up, you know, they tend to be a bit like grease magnet, oil magnets. They leach, they bleed, you know, and various things coming out the top. Because the engines are usually on top of helicopters, they run down the side, they collect dirt, grime and everything else like that. And as we know, the Russian stuff has that beautiful weathered look to them where they pick up all this rubbish and then it just sticks to them, and then they give that beautiful patina right the way over the aircraft, which I absolutely love. Okay, so again, very nice to get back to it, thoroughly enjoyed it and everything else like that. So what I've got to do now is literally wait for the rotors blades to dry. They're going to take a couple of hours minimum. I might even leave it till tomorrow, but generally that is the build done. As I say, look around the sprues just to double check and everything else like that. We've got nothing left on that sprue, and on this guy here I've just got the two little grab handles just there, and then we can go on with those. And to be honest, just over here I've actually got the pitot tube for the front, which I've just painted the blue, which is going to go on the nose of this thing. Again, it'd be one of the last things on because otherwise it's likely to get pinged off after the blades go on and everything else like that. But I hope you agree, we've covered a nice bit of weathering on this one, showed all the different ways and different areas you can do and everything else like that, okay? But generally, had a lot of fun with this one. So what I'm going to do, let them dry, get the final part, a few parts on there, the grab handles, the pitot tube and everything else like that, have a quick look around it, and we're ready for the final reveal. Okay, and there you go, there we have it. If we just talk you through exactly what we've done. Okay, up here, if we start on the top, we move this over, you might see we've got orange tips on the rotors. To be honest, dead easy, tiny little masking off the corner, one off of there, then we sprayed it white. It's important to spray it white, otherwise you're going to spend your life trying to overcoat a dark colour, okay, with orange. Couple of coats and it was job done. But you said if you were trying to do it over black with obviously orange, you're never going to see it come through. So if you put a white coat down, a couple of coats, and you're good to go. So we pop round literally everywhere on this, we find somewhere to hold it. Okay, so starting at the front, obviously pitot tube is on, windscreen wipers are on, the handles are on, foot pegs, all the different aerials have been painted the correct colours and all the rest of it. And there we go, that leaves us with our Heilex, all nicely done, catching the different cameras. Okay, different way of doing this one. As I said, we've treated this one, if we get this spinning, very much like armour. So from our point of view, what we've actually done is go about it in a lot of the same techniques we've done with things like obviously the Sherman build, we did the World War I tank, just looking down there, and the Bradley. So we used a good combination of different materials, different techniques to achieve this look, okay? So obviously the big one, we used washes. For the first time in a full-on build, we've used AK's washes, grease and bearing, the hub area all at the top, that's what this one got. And then we used it for doing, accentuating the panel lines. Now technically it did have the standard dark dirt wash right the way over it to give us the grime and to knock it back, and that's what it does. The wash is really designed for a easy, quick weathering. So if you wanted to just do panel lines on a nice glossy aircraft, hit yourself with a wash, and then your job done. That's it. If you want to go more into the sort of the weathering causing grime, dirt and everything else and stuff you can play with, then obviously use the wash as well over a flat coat. So on this particular one we used a dead flat finish. Okay, this enabled us then to get everything to stick to it. So not only did the clay wash do its bit by causing grime, then we went along and we used obviously the grease, where is the grease one? The engine oil and the grease, which we've got here, to give us a really heavy grime down look. So we used it to go around all the panel lines and to pick out all the details. We've also used it for streaking effects, and we've used it in conjunction then with pigments, because we've used the actual oil washes themselves with pigment to give us the real heavy duty stuff. So as it makes its way round, on this side it wasn't too much at all. Okay, it's pretty much standard as we went round everywhere on this one. On the other side, if we just spin this little guy around, a little moving table here, this side at the back with all this stuff going on here, that was a different ball game. That is a mixture of pigment and the actual oils, which are enamel washes by AK, to give us that type of thing. Also on the top, inside all of those grills and everything up there, that is AK's wash and is in all the panel lines on the top surfaces. Okay, right the way through this, really to give us a easy, quick face down, you know, looking at it. Okay, from a top point of view looking down, it gives us, it's dark, it's in all the shadows and stuff like that. This stuff worked perfectly well, and then with the pigment as well, it just really brought it all to life. Then we've used pigment in the dry form just to do dusty streaks, just to tone everything down, keep everything muted, and everything else was way around it. It's been a great build. Really enjoyed this one. Doing different techniques, different ways of doing things is really what this hobby is all about. Taking something from armor and using it on aircraft, and then obviously vice versa. You can take things away from aircraft and use them on armor, such as washes, things like that. Generally, the kit itself, it's absolutely spot on. I could find no faults with it. A couple of little fit issues here and there, but nothing that you'd ever, you know, really worry about. Take your time with the rotor blades at the top. To be honest, there's a lot of weight and not a lot of plastic. Originally we glued it with extra thin to weld it. They didn't really hold it particularly well. I ended up having to re-pull them out and then putting super glue in there and kicker to lock them in, and then going around to weld them up afterwards. Otherwise you're going to end up in a situation where very slowly they're all going to go bleh. Okay, and it isn't going to look very good. The colours itself all over this one, obviously we used a custom mix on this one. We just knocked it up, Mark 1 eyeball. But like I would say to a lot of people, don't worry too much about what the colours are if you're going to weather it. We did this one when you probably first saw it, it was very glossy, very bright and in your face. Then we come along and we gave it a flat coat. That completely changed it. Very dull, very bleached out looking. And now we've come in with oils and obviously clay washes and pigments. It's then darkened it down again. Okay, so you've gone from being quite glossy blue to being very white and bleached out to now hopefully, what I'm hoping is you'll agree, is the right colour for this one. It's one of those helicopters, you look at 10 different photos of it, you'll get 10 different looks. Photographs are great to a point. I don't believe that, you know, obviously you'll get the guys out there who will use a photograph and they will build an aircraft to that photograph. Trouble is though, if the light changes, different camera settings, things like that, colours can change. What you want to do is just pick what you think is a good colour to you and work your way through until you're happy with it. Thoroughly enjoyed this one. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, join me again next time.